war is too big. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, Mr. Adam Morgan.
Well, it is an honor to be with you tonight. I will confess, as I drove in, normally when I come here, I'm heading toward our big year family vacation, which we do just up the road here. And I'm a little depressed that that is not why I'm in town. But I am very happy to be with you all tonight. And my kids, I didn't even tell them where I was going. So, tonight I want to talk to you about what kind of party, what kind of society, what kind of public forum we want in South Carolina. Do we want a place where people can openly debate and discuss, even argue and fight over ideas and policies? Do we want a robust discussion and thorough vetting of policies that we're passing? Or do we want constant, unified, even uniparty type policies and procedures from our elected officials? Because the truth is, there's benefits to both of those. If we're all unified, and we don't fight, we don't disagree, especially not in public, there's a lot less fighting. It's a lot easier to be an elected official in that way. But how does it affect the state? And how does it affect the people that we represent? Recently, we discovered the intent of the Republican caucus is to have a house, a political culture, and a Republican Party that is that unified in thought, in policy, unified in every way, no disagreement, no open discussion, and most definitely no criticism of other elected officials in the House. I will tell you the story. He mentioned we started the Freedom Caucus. We did. We noticed a trend in South Carolina. We are always behind all the other conservative states, all of our conservative neighbors. If you didn't know this, we have basically no school choice. You just heard about judicial reform. Literally, North Carolina and Georgia actually have much stronger pro-life laws right now than South Carolina. You name the issue, we're behind. CPAC rates us, the American Conservative Union rates us as the most liberal Republican-controlled state. Ever heard of the good old boy system? Yeah. We have the good old boy system in South Carolina. In fact, we may be the best. I mean, if you look it up in the dictionary, it's probably a picture of South Carolina. South Carolina, I'm not going to say. But what is the good old boy system? It is a system where our relationships with fellow members are prioritized over the policy that we're enacting. And you can't see, there is no, since I've been there in 4 years, you will not find a better example of the good old boy system than the events of the last couple weeks. So, Freedom Caucus starts, we're going to change things. We want to be outspoken. Simply voting no is not good enough. There's a group of us, I've been in there for 4 years. When I was a dumb little 20-year-old, decided to run for office, went and knocked on 4,000 doors. And people in Greenville sent me down there, to change things. And I got there, and I was hitting red. Just vote no on things that I thought were bad. That's basically all I was doing. I was a new freshman, didn't really know the system very well, and I immediately was always in trouble. And by the way, my constituents, I actually think my constituents wanted me to vote more red than I was. And by the way, you're not supposed to say that as a politician. I'm supposed to tell you I've always done everything right. They wanted me to vote more red than I was, and I was in constant trouble. And I realized, after just a couple of years, this is not really changing things. Voting right, voting no is the bare minimum of what elected officials should be doing. we have to be the tip of the spear. We have to be educating, informing, fighting, and speaking truth to the public to inspire other people and the next generation to get into the fight and recognize what's at stake. That's what we've got to do. So that's what we did. We came together, 13 of us. We're going to change the world, our little posse, as somebody mentioned. And we're going to start really functioning as a group. We're going to start strategizing better. We're going to start really going after these issues that we all believe in. So what did we do? We used our FOIA power. We shut down the transgender clinic at MUSC. They were 4 to 16 or 4 to 18, and they were having all these kids and giving them therapies and all this stuff. Yeah, right. 4. Can you imagine a 4-year-old? And then, yeah, well, we found that out. We FOIA'd them to try to get all the records. As soon as they realized it was going to be exposed to what they were doing, they just shut the whole program. We sued school districts that were teaching CRT. In fact, a school district not too terribly far from here, they were hiring people to come from Atlanta to come and teach our teachers, right? They were coming in to do this training to help them be better professionals. And on camera, one of these people who was hired and came in to teach our teachers how to be better teachers, she said on camera, she didn't know she was being videoed, said, "I'm here to find co-conspirators." Co-conspirators to break state law and indoctrinate children in the tenets of, critical race theory. In South Carolina. And we got to do something. People are like, oh, let's not be crazy. We don't know really who's at fault. Well, we're going to sue legislators. So we did. So we're doing all these things that every Republican completely supports. Every Republican, all of you would support the things I just said, right? And by the way, we're winning the Freedom Caucus. And it's exciting, and this movement starts growing, and a bunch of people run and win in the last election cycle. 9 new members win and join the Freedom Caucus. We're shutting down transgender clinics. We're suing, getting rid of CRT. We're growing the conservative movement. We've added 9 members, 20 strong now. We come back to caucus. The world's going to change. We're going to fight all these things. We have a Republican supermajority. This is the day when all the conservative stuff happens, right? Yes. We get there, our first caucus meeting, and we're told new rules change. We haven't changed rules in a long time, but we think it's time this year to change caucus rules. Okay, well, what are the new rules? In the rules, they add a campaign rule that says no member shall engage in campaign activities of any kind against another member in the Republican caucus. And immediately, we were like, well, what in the world does this mean? What are you trying to get at? Like that we can't go out and work in somebody's campaign against another House member? And quickly, we discovered that that was actually not the limit of what it was. It was rapidly expanded into, the House Republican Caucus tweeted recently and said, this rule simply keeps members from putting up gotcha amendments that basically put people in a tough spot. They don't want us to put amendments on legislation that are not approved by leadership. They don't want us to legislate. We're legislators. They don't want us to legislate. Members didn't want us posting pictures of the public voting board. But think about that. It's a public voting board. All we do is we go on record, and the public can see how we voted on something. We take a picture, post it on my social media account to inform my constituents. That's a problem. Why? Because one of the highest ranking individuals in the House gave a speech at the beginning of session and said, you people who are doing that, the campaign's over. Campaign season's over. You need to search your heart while you're doing that. You're just trying to make people look bad. It's like, no, we're informing the public how elected officials are voting. It is insane to think we have a culture in Columbia that expects for us not to post pictures of the public voting board because it might make our colleagues look bad. It's insane. It's literally insane. And so we said, absolutely not. We're not gonna go along with that. And they said, well, also another new rule. We've added a signature requirement. There's now that clearly says that I agree to adhere to, abide by, and comply with these rules, including the new campaign rule.
Yes,
and I will
sir.
sign and pledge my name to be a member of the Republican Caucus. We said, absolutely not. And they said, oh, we said, we're not signing a pledge. Oh, no, it's not a pledge. It's not a pledge. Like, you know, like gaslighting. You can't understand this. It wasn't good. One pledge word wasn't good enough. They had to have three. Abide by, adhere to, and comply with. And they said, oh, no, it's not a pledge. And we said, well, okay, fine, if it's not a pledge, we're definitely not signing. And they said, well, if you don't sign, you're out of the caucus. We said, well, we're not signing, and we're still Republicans, so you have to kick us out. And guess what they did? They kicked us out. They officially announced, anyone who does not sign the pledge, the Stalinist loyalty pledge, whatever you want to call it, is out of the Republican Caucus. They kicked out 16 members, which is like 200,000 voters represented. Just kicked out, which is the most amazing part of the story. At the very same meeting where we were kicked out, one of the Freedom Caucus members nominated one of the leadership guys, because he had run on, I'm going to change things, I'm going to be more conservative. One of the top leaders in caucus nominated him for his position, and then he turned around and kicked us out.